Hi, welcome to That's So Nova. It's your first time here. Welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we're going to be making the Reena handbag from TobiStylx. This bag is super cute. As you can see, it has like a doctor look. It's not that big. It's about, I want to say, let me get a ruler real quick. It's about 11 inches wide, 7.5 inches tall, and about 5 inches deep. The Reena handbag is a classic handbag. It's perfect for accessories, your everyday wear. It's a functional bag, has an inner zipper pocket, a slip pocket to keep all your essentials safe, and the main compartment is really spacious, so you can put your wallet, phone, small wallet, and other essentials. Today we're going to be doing the one that's a doctor style, which has these really cool features of like magnets on the side to give it a nice like shape. If you can see the shape of this, it kind of domes out. So it's a really cool shape. When you open it up, it's a nice wide opening, and you have there, you can see your slip pocket and a zipper pocket. It's very fun to do. This particular part of the bag with the magnets, I have like extra strong magnets. It is a little, I called it the Houdini because when you're done, you feel like, wow, I made this. So we're going to be doing the doctor style bag. Also, before you get started, I am not doing the one with it. There's two kind of zipper styles. I'm doing F1, and then there's an easier one that has more raw and exposed edges, and that's F2. So I'm doing F1. So if you're starting, that is the one I'm doing. I'm doing the TobiStylx bag. So let's get started. Very minimal hardware is needed. I'm using foam and Pelon. Peltex 71. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get out your main panel piece A. And you're going to want to get out your little side pieces, pattern piece C. On pattern piece C, you want to draw 1/4 of an inch lines on both sides, and we're going to sew those together with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Also, I will let you know I ordered stuff for my tassels and it just hasn't came in yet. So I'm not going to be adding a tassel and chain. I know, I'm sorry, but I might do a later tutorial for it. I might. So once we have our 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, we want to push the seam allowance so it goes towards the bigger, to the inside of the main panel, and we're going to top stitch using a 1/8 of an inch. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We have our 1/4 of an inch marks. We're going to bring this over and sew. Back stitch before and after so you can lock in that stitch. And my thread wants to act all wibbly wobbly crazy right now. Sometimes thread can be like that. It's cool. You just re-thread it. And line up the raw edges, back stitch well, beginning and end. Let's trim those seam allowance, not the seam allowance threads, and we're going to turn this. We're going to turn this seam allowance in towards the main panel piece and top stitch on the main panel piece at 1/8 of an inch. I don't know why my thread keeps doing that. Maybe I need to rethread. I don't know. Let's see. Bear with me for a second. I apologize. Sometimes thread is kind of wonky. I just put a new needle in, so I don't have anything gumming it up. Maybe some thread is nicer than others. Okay. Hold on to your tails and stitch down at 1/8 of an inch. Okay. We're then going to grab our side pieces B and we're going to attach them using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Let's see. This did not go as planned. So give me a minute and I'm going to take this out. Sometimes I get overzealous and I don't clip, and this is what happens when you don't clip. Something doesn't get caught in the seam allowance, and you really want to be accurate so you don't have any goof ups when you're trying to put the bag together, you know? So I'd rather take the time to remove a couple stitches and put it together the correct way. And making sure raw edges are together. There we go. And then we're going to put this seam allowance towards the side panel. I hate when you like remove like thread and like it's like now locked in there. We're gonna top stitch right onto the side panel at 1/8 of an inch. We're gonna do the same thing. We're going to put this together. Sew at 1/4 of an inch. And then we're just going to press this where the seam allowance is going towards the outside of the bag, and we're going to top stitch on the side seam at 1/8. Now you're going to repeat this to another side. You're going to do this with the other front and side panels. I love this little accent. And then we're going to draw a 1-inch line on the back side, because this is going to be a drop-in lining. So we have that. Now we're going to attach the base. So what I like to do is I like to find my centers just to make sure everything lines up as best as I can. And I'm going to trim that. And I'm going to grab the base. From the base, we're just going to attach it with a, we're going to sew with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And on my base, I have my foam and my Peltex in here. After we attach the base, we will be putting the feet on. Okay, and then we're going to push this panel down onto itself, and we're going to sew at, a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance onto the base piece. Peltex is smaller than the foam, so I just sandwiched it in, or you just sew it on top of the foam. It's your choice. We're going to do that for the other piece. Finding the center. We're going to sew at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And again, we're not going to base, we're going to top stitch the base down on over here, having the seam allowance go towards the inside of the base, and we're going to top stitch using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And make sure you're stitching on the base. Okay. So then you're going to measure 1.5 inches down and 2.5 inches in, and you're going to punch holes for your bag feet. Once you punch the holes for your bag feet, you're going to want to install them. I'm using bag feet I got from Waywack or Wawak, however you say it, and they're like the bucket ones. I like the way those feet look. And I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to open up the prongs. Sometimes they stick. I found a stiletto. Where am I now? A stiletto helps out tremendously on opening them up. And then you fold the prongs down, and you have your bag feet. Okay? So what we're going to do next is make the handle. You're going to take your handle piece, and you're going to find the center. Draw a line for the center. And then you're going to do like any other handle we have ever done. You're going to take some double-sided tape. You could do clips as well. I do double-sided tape. It's just easier for me. And you're going to fold everything towards the center, leaving a small gap to allow the bulk. And then we're going to fold it onto itself, and we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, we're going to trim those threads. And then we're going to get our main panel piece, and we're going to mark a 1/2 inch away from this accent, a small line. Using some chalk. And we're going to base this in place. And you're going to go into the inside of your chalk line. And now we have our, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now we have our handles connected. All right. So from here, we're going to hop on over to page 11. We're going to take our stabilizing pieces and we're going to put them 1 inch below the 1 inch mark. Since I'm not fusing mine's on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of double-sided tape and just place it on the stabilizer piece so that way it can temporarily hold my TobiStylx foam in place while I'm trying to get everything situated. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to place this right underneath the 1 inch mark. And you notice that the area where the stabilizer swoops down at, that goes on the top part because that's how we get that nice shape. If you put it on the other way, it will kind of get wibbly wobbly. So don't put your TobiStylx where the widest part is on the top. That goes on the bottom. So let's see. I almost did it. I'm placing this right underneath the 1 inch mark. All right. So then we're going to get some clips because we're going to clip these right sides together. And I'm just making sure everything lines up. Let me get these threads. I have I always think I trim all my threads and then bam, there'll be some that come out of the woodworks. Okay. I'm just making sure everything lines up as best as I possibly can. All right, we're going to sew these down, the sides down at 3/8 of an inch. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and end so that way nothing will come undone, you know? I try to do like 3 or 4 stitches back stitching. Right. Let's do the other side. Making sure raw edges are together. I think it's just my thread, to be honest with you. I'm like, why does it keep doing this? It's just the thread being a little bit of a brat. It's okay. It happens. We're only human and machines make mistakes too. It's cool. I won't fire her. My machine, this is the 1541S, and I named her Jacary's. What is your machine's name and what kind of machines do you have? If somebody was looking for a new machine, let's say somebody's watching this video right now, what machine would you recommend and why? Just out of curiosity to see where everyone's at. I think all the machines I have I would recommend to someone. It's all personal preference, but I do love all my Jukis. I'm not gonna lie, they're fantastic. So then we're going to take this and we're going to sew the sides at 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to make sure everything's centered. Open up this seam allowance. I did mark my centers on my base. I always have a habit of doing that. As you can see, there's a small little snip, and it's easier for me to clip everything in place when everything's all lined up. Okay, let me get another clip because apparently the other one just went MIA. And we're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch and just squish down that bag. It's going to be fine. It'll be fine. Make sure you backstitch a few stitches to lock it in. I have a tendency of backstitching over the areas that I butterfly seam open too. Okay, let's do this on that side. This is why I love foam so much, is that you can squish your bag and the shape will come back, and that is just brilliant to me. Back stitch. All right, making sure everything got enclosed. Okay, and then we're going to just flip this right sides out. And just poke out those corners as best as you can. It's already a really beautiful shape. Okay. I'm just making sure everything goes where it's supposed to. Which I think it is. Okay, because when we fold these down, it's going to be really cute. Okay, so we have that, and now we need to add the magnetic female side to the bag. So we're going to measure 4 1/4 of an inch down. And I'm just going to make a little mark. I'm not going to punch a hole in the seam. I'm going to punch a hole either to the right or the left, slightly to the seam. It's just, I don't like poaching holes in the seam because I think you could just break the thread real easily, and that is frustrating. So you punch a hole. I try to get as close to the seam without getting to the seam. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, and I'm using riveted magnets, so let me get the female and the backs. So I'm going to thread this through, and I'm going to put the cap on it. Then I'm going to lock it into place. I do have the die. You can get dies at CamSnap. Mine's is from Buckle Guys, and I'm using Buckle Guys magnets. I just really love their stuff. So it's not, see how it's not quite on the seam, but it's there. It's not going to be too much of a difference. It's just, it's personal preference. I just don't like breaking stitches. And then Sorry if I bumped you, camera. All right, so we're done with that. Now, this is the part that I call the Houdini, the zipper panel. We're going to be doing zipper panel option 1. So I'm not doing option 2, I'm just doing option 1. So we're going to need your pattern piece F1. We're going to need also pattern piece F2A. And we're going to need a 16-inch zipper. Okay, so all the marks that are on the pattern piece, please mark them on your actual pattern, because we're going to be making some lines, and we're going to make this, it's going to be kind of hard if you don't have all the original pattern piece lines. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark 3/4 of an inch all the way around this whole entire pattern. So I just go a little, I just draw like I would do a gridded ruler, like, so I'm just drawing the 3/4 of an inch all the way around. Take your time. I'd rather take my time and get it right than not taking my time and mess up and then be frustrated at myself. I'm doing this in a hot pink so you can see, but I would try to do it in chalk or a color that is closer to the original. All right, so we're going to get some double-sided tape, and we're going to be taping this up. So you're going to want to put double-sided tape right at the lines that you created. So I'm going to take it, then pill it, because then I'm going to be putting another piece of tape on the other side. You can probably use like a beacon glue, but I think you would need to work really, really fast, because I don't know about you, but beacon glue dries fast, and that is one of the reasons why I love it. Also, it doesn't gum up my needles. So we're going to put double-sided tape pretty much anywhere and everywhere on here on the lines, so that way you can fold this up correctly, so we don't have to edge paint. It's minimal raw edge exposure. If you don't want to do all this when I'm done, there is option where you can do I think it's called F2D piece that you can use. Okay, a little bit more taping, and then we're gonna start, I want to say, molding or creating the pattern piece with folding. And I'm, again, putting these tape marks right on the line that we just created, the 3/4 of an inch. So on the line, not below the line. Okay. Okay. So now that we have this all taped up, we want to fold this in on itself. So I'm sorry, right here we're going to make a snip into this, because we're not going to fold the center down just yet. We're folding everything else around it. So I just take it one step at a time, and I'm going to fold this over on it, and I did the snip to the 3/4 of, almost towards the halfway through the 3/4 of an inch line. I'm going to fold this part, and then I'm just going to kind of merge these together so that they can you're trying to make the shape still without and just having like little peaks that we're going to trim in a little bit. Okay, so folding this onto the 3/4 of an inch line. You didn't have to put tape here. I'm probably going to try to remove that. Folding this in the middle. Try not to do the edge. And making this come together and making a little peak. Okay, I'm gonna just see if I can remove this. I probably won't be able to because that double-sided hyper tape is, whoop, it is no joke. It removes my nail polish every time too. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my roller and just roll this out so it could be like I'm ironing it because, you know, it gets wrinkly. And just making sure that these peaks are nice and sharp. It's nice and the glue is adhering to it really nicely. All right, so once you do that and you get it all nice and crisp, you want to then trim the peak at an angle. So these could lay flat. Okay, and so what I'm just going to do is roll these out just even more. I love a little roller because it can help really make that glue adhere. Okay. All right. So from here, we're going to take our 16-inch zipper, and we're going to separate it. I know. No one likes separating it. And then we're going to take one of the half of the zippers and line it to the edge, right sides centered, and then clip them. So we're going to want to have the right sides up, and we're going to center it and clip it. Take one half and line the edge that you drew from the center and center right sides together. Right sides together and clip them. Sorry, right sides together. I'm just going to just extend my center mark and just draw it on here. Just a little pink dot. Right sides together. Find the center. I'm just putting some clips down, and we're going to we're going to put this on using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Don't go past the opening. Don't go past the opening that you drew on there and cut out. That slit where the slit starts, that's where you're going to stop and start your 1/4 inch. Don't go past it, the slit. Back stitch a few stitches just to lock it in. Okay, and trim. We're going to do the same thing on this. We're going to find our center. Little pink line. Right sides together. I know, it seems like a lot, but once you're like sewing it, you're going to be like, oh, this makes sense. It just is a different looking piece, so we're not used to it. So, making sure things line up. Okay, 1/4 inch. Okay, sorry, I'm just making sure that everything's lined up. Make sure that the zipper's out of the way. If you didn't get perfectly lined up, it's fine. Just make sure that the zipper tape extends just past the slit area. You can always trim up the zipper teeth when we're putting it together. Okay, so then we're going to take our other pattern piece that we cut out, and we're going to put it right sides together. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of clip it at the top and at the bottom. We're going to sew that 1/4 inch. Just make sure that the slits are matching. That is my best advice to you, is make sure the slits are matching, because then everything else can just line up. And then take your time, and you can put as many clips as you want in place. I know it seems confusing, but it's the same thing as right side. We're just putting right sides together to make a really nice gusset. just, and that's why we have all those markings where to stop and start. Okay, we have one side down. Okay, we're going to now put these, again, right sides together. I'm going to sew down this side. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take these clips off, and we're going to take this part that we just sewed down, and we're going to just turn it so that it's going to be wrong sides touching. You're going to need some clips for this one. This part, there's a lot of clips that needs to happen. So everything's going to start touching. I'm going to kind of feed my zipper tape through the little slits. Take your time. You can use a pair of hemostats to help pull it out if that helps. And as you can see, the zipper tape will go like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, one, make sure that these zipper teeth line up, and then I'm going to place the first zipper pull on here and try to feed it through. So I got the first one on, and I'm just going to now clip these into place, like hold it temporarily with clips. You can kind of see it's forming. Sorry if you hear my printer. It likes to recycle the ink and do all the ink stuff around this time of day. And it's raining, so it's like you're getting twofer of different sounds in my room. Everything should line up if you follow the measurements. I have an array of different clips. And then we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to feed, see how it's like this? I'm going to feed, when I flip it right sides out, the zipper tape is not going to, it's going to act funky once it goes on the outside. So I'm going to feed it through the slit. You can use a stiletto, like I said, hemostats, whatever you have available. I know I have hemostats, and the thing is that as soon as I don't look for them, they'll appear out of nowhere. That's how my room works. Let's see. My room is like a vortex until I don't need something, then everything appears. Everything. Okay, I'll just use a tool. And just be careful not to poke a hole or rip anything. Okay, I got one. Let me get this other one. Oops. Okay. And see, like my zipper tape is not centered, so I'm just going to align these as best as I can and then try to get it even. Put another zipper pull. This is the part that takes the longest, but it's the most satisfying when it's done because it's just amazing how it's put together. Oops. I'm gonna try to put the zipper pull on. And feed it through. Okay. On camera, it's like, guess what? I'm not gonna feed through. There we go. Sorry, just make sure you have the appropriate areas cut out that is marked on it, and it'll be easier. I'm using ginormous zipper pulls. I have to make things more difficult. That's just how I roll. And I unpulled it. Okay. Let's see if it works better this time. Sorry. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes I can get things to work the first time, and other times I'm finagling it like everybody else for hours on end. Oops. All right. So we are going to have this pulled out too without having injuries, Shadova. And we're just going to clip everything together. And I'm going to just snip down my zipper tape a little bit so that way it can fit in here. Sorry, I had a little bit of piece of overage. I'm just easing this pattern piece in. All right. So we're going to go, if you're going to have magnets, you're going to need your male magnet to be placed in here. Because mine's is riveted, I can do it through the exterior, through the interior. But if you have the prong ones, you're going to want to install it through the bottom layer and then open up the prongs in the center. And then we're going to top stitch this all down using 1/8 of an inch. So install your magnets if you do not have riveted ones now. Like on character Q. One-eighth of an inch. Take your time. Now, if you have a little bit of overage, which can happen during like cutting, if it's on the bottom, it's going to be fine. You can trim it to be nice and flush. So just make sure you're doing 1/8 of an inch top stitching on the first exterior piece that's going to be shown with the zipper side up. Okay, and we're going to trim those threads and just make sure that any overage, if you have any overage, you clean that up now. I don't have a lot, but I do have some, and I'd rather get rid of the some. All right, so it looks really good. All right, so we have our zipper. And then we're going to, once we do that, we're going to go to page 16. And we're going to go to page 16 and we're going to, you can see option 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch this now down at 1/8 of an inch all the way around the box part, and then I'm going to install my rivets. I've been really on a riveted magnet kick. I just like the way they look, and To be honest, the prongs don't mess up my nails then because it's a rivet post. I know you can go around the box before you go all the way around. It just, I don't know. I did it backwards. I did it backwards the first time too. I think I just wanted to make sure that everything fit before I did the final zipper box. If that makes sense. All right. All right, now let me install my rivet. Let me get to a smaller hole. Prong, my magnet. Let's see. And I'm going to change out the die, so it is the Mel portion that I'm going to be installing. The Mel goes underneath. And let me get... Okay. And let me get my other Mel piece. I'm like notoriously always missing a piece. Like I'll have it and then it'll just disappear. Put the cap on. Okay, so we have this piece done. Now let's start with our lining, and then we start the final construction of the bag. There is, on page 16, it shows you the different zipper options you can do in case you don't want to do it this way. I love the fact that she gives you two. So let's start with our zipper pocket. On our zipper pocket, you want to take your zipper facing and measure it 2 inches down, and you want to top stitch it on at 1/8 of an inch. Once we do that, we're going to cut out the zipper area. And we're going to make sure we're careful not to cut the stitching or the zipper facing. Okay, let me just clean up this last part here. So we have our zipper opening. You're going to want to do the pockets where you're going to place the zippers right side of the zipper tape up with on the wrong, the right side of your zipper pocket facing up and the wrong side of the zipper tape touching it, and you're going to base it on at 1/8 of an inch. You're going to do that to both sides, and once you're done with that, you're going to put a zipper on there. Okay, so once we have that, we're going to get some double-sided tape and place this on the top and the bottom of the zipper. And what I like to do, sorry, my Crocs are all squeaky today. I like to roll that on. We're going to pull the zipper tape up, not the zip, pull the double-sided tape up And then I like to have my zipper close to the left, so I'm going to make sure that that happens. I'm going to place my pocket over the zipper tape and try to line it up center as best I can. Now we're going to sew all the way around the box using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I backstitch, but some like to pull their threads to the back. It's really personal preference. I'm going to backstitch. I like to backstitch over the zipper teeth because I know that's the area that gets the most stress. Gets pulled the most. Move your zipper out of the way when you're sewing so that way it doesn't get caught up in your feed dogs. And I'm going to trim those seam allowance. About the seam allowance, the threads. I'm going to bring the lining down to face. I'm going to bring the top lining to face the bottom lining, and there is some excess, so I'm going to trim it so it's even. Then I'm going to close up this pocket, because remember it's a drop-in lining. Okay, and then we have our nice fresh zipper pocket. All right, so then we're going to move on to our second pocket, which is a slip pocket. So I'm going to get the lining pieces, which are pattern piece H, and I'm going to get a different bobbin because I think I just ran out of bobbin, which is cool because it happens right before top stitching, so I'm okay with that. I'd rather have it run right out right now while I'm doing lining than exterior any day of the week. All right, so you're going to, on your lining piece, mark 1 inch, draw a 1 inch line on the wrong side. And then you're going to draw 1 inch in for each side and 3/8 of an inch down. Once you have that, you're going to have yourself a nice little rectangle. You're going to sew across this rectangle, and then we're going to cut it out. We're going to do it very much how we do zipper pockets. We're going to go, and then we're going to slant at a V, right, close to the stitch line, but not on it. Okay. And I like to press these before I turn it so that way it knows where it's going. I'm going to feed this through. We have a nice slip pocket. And what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch the pocket down at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. trim it. Then we're going to place our slip pockets together. There should be no need to trim because they're the same size now. And we're going to sew the pocket all the way around together. Back stitch at the beginning and end. Okay, now we have a slip pocket. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the recess zipper, zipper panel, recess lining panels, and we're going to start creating the lining so that we can finish the construction of this bag. We're going to place. We're going to want to find our centers. I'm going to place a clip right here, and I'm going to find my centers and make a little clip. And we're going to want to take this and just sew this down using, let's see, I believe we're going to be using 3/8 of an inch. Just this short part, not this and this. Make sure everything lines up. 3/8 of an inch. All right. So the zipper is facing right sides up. We're going to take one of our lining pieces, our recessed lining pieces, and we're going to place it right sides together with this. Mine's has a little bit of stretch, so I'm just going to be paying attention to, because I might have to cut off a little bit of the excess when I get to the end. And we're going to do 3/8 of an inch and not sew this part in. So just kind of push it out of the way. Make sure the zippers are out of the way. I say this almost sewing over my zipper, and then just make sure this is completely out of the way. Your magnetic pieces. Okay, and then we're going to understitch. We're going to put the seam allowance facing towards the inside of the bag, and we're going to stitch it down, that seam down towards the inside of the bag onto the lining piece using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Take your time. Okay, we're going to repeat this on the other side. Find our centers. And just so make sure you draw like a 1-inch line so that way you know where to turn this in as well. I'll draw it on the other one because we have to turn this in we're going to match up our centers and sew this part down at 3/8 of an inch. Move those zipper pulls. Okay. Sew this down at 3/8 of an inch. Okay. All right, so we're going to understitch this, flipping the seam allowance towards the back. Stitching down on the lining. All right, we're at the home stretch, guys. We got this. All right, so once you've done that, we're going to put these pattern pieces right sides together, and we're going to sew up the sides in the lining using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So just tuck these out of the way. And just make sure that your pieces line up as best as you can. And we're going to do 1/4 of an inch. Take your time, follow the shape of the bag. And I'm just going to bring the bottom of the bag towards me, towards the sewing machine, and sew. All right, and then we're going to box the corners. So I'm going to put my hand inside the bag and get this as flat as possible. And I'm going to put one seam on one side and the other on the right side, one on the left. Just so that way it can be even. 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to do that on the other side too. Okay, we're going to start putting this together. First, we're going to need to put double-sided tape on the line that we drew on both the exterior and the interior. So I'm just taking my time, rolling it out, and then I'm also opening up the side seams so that way that they could be evenly. But I promise you there's thread everywhere. Right, so I'm going to start folding it down onto the bottom of that line so the double-sided tape can stick. Making sure that you're helping reduce bulk as much as possible by butterflying the side seam. Okay, so that is one side, one done. Let's get the exterior and do the same. Butterfly open the seams. And we have double-sided tape. We're going to start folding down to the 1-inch mark. So we're folding over a 1/2 inch. Take your time. Okay, so then we're going to put our lining in. You can figure out what side you want for your front and back. We're going to, I like to put the seams together first. And then I'm let my clover clip just pop off in my face. Let's see, okay. Then I'm going to just tuck in the pockets. And I'm going to start clipping in place. And just, I'm an over clipper because I like to pull and tug and make sure everything fits really nice. So from here, we're going to sew down our top stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew from the lining side. You can sew like this as well, or if you have a I can't talk today. If you have a free arm, you can use that too at this time. I trust my bobbin, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew with the lining sides towards the inside of the bag. So I like to always start and stop. Check my thread before I do this at inside of a seam, so that way that I can kind of hide my stitches a little bit, just a little bit. And because we're using foam and nothing was like ironed on, you can kind of squish this bag down. We're going to go for 1/8 of an inch. And be careful, take your time. Now, when you get to the area that has the handles, you're going to get a little bit more bulk, and that's okay. Just use a hump jumper if you're working on a domestic, or hand crank. I'm just moving this bag and just squishing it down. Take your time. If you have to just make sure that your needle is down so that you can fix any errors. And if you made a mistake, it's okay. It's okay. We all do. I think I have a mistake that I'm going to go back and fix. And that's perfectly fine. And I'm almost done. And then I'll back stitch on that seam. Okay. Trim those threads. And then make sure everything is together. Once it is, then you can do this part of the Houdini. You can clip the magnetic snap to the side of the bag. If you're like me, you need to probably take off the plastic. Sometimes the plastic is like, I am not gonna budge. I'm gonna take, it looks like a contact now. I'm gonna put this one on the side, and as you can see, my magnet is strong. It's taking all the little, they look like weird contact lenses. And then I'm going to put the magnet on this side. And I have a rogue thread that I'm going to snip. And then I'm going just to tuck this in and zip it up. So you're going to want to fold it in. And once you do, you get this magnificent shape to the bag. And it looks like a little doctor's bag, a vintage one. You can now wipe off all the chalk and anything that wants to rust. But now you have this cute little bag, and I mean, I've made it in a lot of different faux leathers, and I just think it is the cutest little thing. This one is a stiffer leather than this one. This one's more kind of gummy a little bit, but as you can see, it's they're just amazing. This pattern is really fun to do. You get, like I said, you have the cool thing where you have a slip pocket in here, and then you have a zipper pocket. Inside is a nice taut lining because the lining pieces are different from the exterior pieces. Then you just install some magnets on the side, and it gives you this really beautiful bowed in shape. And see how, like, this is a good example. This is a stiffer lining, and you can see that it doesn't want to bow in as much. And this one is kind of a softer and kind of more gummy, and it automatically does more. I like the shape of the softer one, but I can see why people will want a stiffer one as well. So if you have any questions in reference to this bag, please put the comments down below. I try to be really receptive and try to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I am sewing on a Juki 1541S. I'm using a 116-inch needle. I use Tex 70 for my thread. I'm not too sure where the vinyl I got from this as. It was in my scrap bin. For the purple one, it was from Sam's Fabrics Creations in Canada. The zipper tape is from Wawak. The zipper pulls are from Wawak, and same with the feet. The magnets are from Buckle Guys, and that is it. If you have any questions, please leave, like I said, leave a comment down below, and I'll be more than willing to assist you. And if you're like, Shinova, oh my god, I couldn't have got that like zipper if with anything in the world, I want to buy you a coffee. I'll put a link into my Ko-fi where you can buy me a coffee if you wish. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I can't wait to sew with you again. Bye.